Everyone, and welcome to my channel. If you own a private practice or a small business, you've probably asked yourself, should I hire? And well, today we're going to talk about some things that you should consider before hiring so you could make the right decision for your business. Hi, my name is Adrienne Fuller. I am a speech language pathologist and private practice owner, and I have had this private practice for many, many versions. The first version was I was a solopreneur and I had a small team, medium sized, and now a larger sized team. And so I say all that to say it doesn't matter where you are in the process. You have to do what's the best for you, your business, your family, your budget, right? But today, I am going to give you a couple of things to consider so you can make the best decision. So the first thing is, if you're questioning whether to hire, that's probably a sign, but it's not the most defining thing, right? So before you jump in, let's take a step back and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Are you putting things off that you used to not put off, right? And so if you're avoiding tasks like cleaning, like uh, billing, like answering the phone, that is a sign that it could be time to hire. I remember personally, I had so much difficulty at one point just answering the phone, right? Because when you're doing all of the things, sometimes it kind of seems overwhelming. And so if you're putting those things to the side, but those are the things that make your business run, that's a good sign it's time to hire. And when I say hire, I don't mean offer someone a full-time position with benefits and all of the bells and whistles. Sometimes hiring means just outsourcing the task, or it could be hiring someone 5 to 10 hours a week, 5 to 10 hours a month. All right. But it doesn't matter how small or how much you need. The answer is you might just want to get just a little clear about what exactly you need. The next question I'll ask you is, are you beginning to feel stretched so thin that you're spending more time in the weeds than actually growing your business? So for me, that looks like being in front of my computer, my laptop, answering emails. If I'm always answering emails, that's a good sign for me that it might be time to hire someone else because I'm avoiding something. Does that make sense? For you, it might look like you're ignoring it altogether or you're scrolling social media. Hey, we love social media. I'm there all the time, but sometimes I'm on it because I'm avoiding something else. Okay. And so if the answer is yes, then you might want to start getting a little bit serious about hiring. So let me tell you what I don't want you to do. First of all, don't let fear hold you back. A lot of times, hiring is scary, right? Especially if you're going to hire a W-2 employee right out of the gate. And so, because you're thinking, I could mess this up, I could break a law, someone's depending on me. Those are all scary things, but they're things that are doable. And so I'm going to say this, I am not an accountant, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a lawyer. But if you've never hired before, consider hiring someone as a contractor short term to see if this is something that you like. I mentor private practice owners all the time, and sometimes they let the W-2 status stop them from doing it altogether. So let me tell you what I'm not saying. I'm not saying hire everyone as a contractor. I'm not saying never hire a W-2 employee because some of us live in states where 1099 contractors are not even on the table for us. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying for the short term to kind of experiment, right? Because owning a business means experimenting. And so experiment with, hey, I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying. Experiment with having employees by hiring a contractor for the short term. All right. The next thing is don't be unclear about what you want. So before you put out an ad, you talk to your good friend that also does what you do, that you want them to come aboard. I want you to sit down and be very clear about what you need. So you need to ask yourself a couple of questions. This doesn't have to take an all-day thing. It could be you set your timer for 15 minutes, turn off your phone or put it in another room and really get clear. What do I need them to do? List all their responsibilities. When are they going to work? Where are they going to work? Sometimes we can hire someone virtually, but sometimes if you need someone in person, hire someone in person. There's someone looking for the job that you have as long as you're clear about what that job is. All right. Another thing I don't want you to do is don't wait till your systems are perfect. Especially, I'm an SLP, I'm a speech language pathologist. A lot of us tend to want to be perfect, right? We're socialized to be that way as women sometimes, or maybe it's just the way you grew up. We don't have to delve into that right now, but if you find that you're waiting on things to be perfect, don't do that. In fact, when you're first hiring, I do recommend that you maybe tell your first employee, you're my first employee, so we're learning together. But I will say that with the caveat, your employee's still gonna need a leader. So a lot of times what will happen is you're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. What do you think we should do? You can take as much input as you can, I guess, handle, but in the end, your business rises and falls with you, and you have to make those sometimes tough choices, right? All right. And then the last thing I don't want you to do is to assume that things are going to get better overnight, because they will not. A lot of times we wait until almost too late to hire. It's never too late to hire, but sometimes you're so maxed out and burned out, then you just start throwing things at people and you're like half training them. And so you're like, hey, catch, take this, do this, get this off my plate. But remember, that person that you've hired needs to learn who you are, who your business is, and who your clientele is. And so you have to give them time to do that. All right. And so the next thing I want to talk about is what to be prepared for. Sometimes when I was starting, no one prepared me for the ups and the downs of hiring. So if you think hiring is, hey, I put out an ad, I find someone, we train, and then we skip merrily into the sunset, sometimes that happens. More times than not, it doesn't. And so first thing, be prepared to kiss a few frogs. Sometimes not every hire will be the one, and that's okay. So if you've trained a person or you're like, this isn't what I need or who I need, then exit them from your business. Another thing is you have to be prepared for people to come in and out of your business and in and out of your life, right? Especially if you're in a service-based profession. And so it is so easy to get attached to people who bet on you in the beginning or who have been very good to you by working, not by working for you, but you know what I'm saying? Someone who catches your vision and then you guys run together. Sometimes people are going to leave our lives, and that doesn't mean that because they were a bad employee or you're a bad employer. Sometimes that's just because of life. They have a baby or they get sick or they move. So you have to be prepared for that, because I used to take things so personally, and sometimes it's not about you at all. On the flip side, be sure to take an autopsy, because sometimes you are. Does that make sense? Sometimes it is you, but most times it's not you. And don't take blame for something that's just a life change for someone. And then the last thing is be prepared to train and retrain. Now, you remember when you were first learning how to do the thing that you're amazing at, whether it's dance or it's speech or it's OT or you're the best hairstylist in the world, right? When you were learning, you weren't good at it. And remember how that made you feel? And so when we're training people, sometimes we give like one day of training and then expect them to be as good as we are. And that's not fair. So be prepared to train and retrain and answer questions. I remember being like, "Ugh, what do you need now? I already told you." Well, we forget or we need a refresher. And so oftentimes if you just give them a way to find the information, whether it's like a video or it's a handbook, make sure the information is available for the person who's working for you so that they can be successful. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be successful and we all want to be help to someone, right? And so, should you hire? If you're stuck doing things that drain your energy, make you feel overwhelmed, or take you away from growth, then the answer is probably yes. But you need to go in with a plan, with clear expectations, and a willingness to adapt. So that's all I have for you today on the subject of hiring. But I would love for you to tell me in the chat or message me what stuck out to you about this video, what hiring challenges you're having, because if you're challenged with hiring, you are not the only one. And so share so we can learn and grow together. Until next time, you guys, that's all. Bye.